Hey there, this is K4A, Knowledge for All, educational videos and tutorials. In today's video we are going to learn how and when you can use GameMaker Studio drag and drop block, which is called if any object at place. So in previous video we have learned if object at place, and now we are going to learn if any object at place. So the difference with previous video and this one is that in previous video we have checked for very specific object. In our case it was this white square which represents the player in our game, but in this video today we are going to use condition which checks if any object is touching our object. So instead of checking for this white square, for example, now our object, the door, will check if the coin is touching it, if the player is touching it, if this red triangle is touching it, and so on. So every possible object on the screen is in question. We are testing for every possible object. So again, because I'm lazy and I'm trying to make this as short as possible, I will click on this objects obj portal level next with my left click in my assets browser folder and then duplicate it to make copy of it. And instead of making this obj portal, I will now create obj maybe collectible all, which represents some collectible which can be used and collected by all of those other objects on the screen, so other players, enemies, and so on. So I want to check if any object is colliding with this object which I have just created. So I will need step event, but I don't want to use previous code, so I will left click and delete it. You can also disable it if you're not sure, but for me I want to start with blank step event, and in step event I want to add collision event which says if any object at place. And if you compare it with the previous one which we have used in previous video, that was if object at place, you see how in if object at place we have lots of options, lots of checkboxes and fields, and in this one today, if any object at place, we only have relative checkboxes to say do I want to use this. I need to first drag and drop it into my screen. So do I want to use this guy here as coordinates his collision box? I will add lots of those, and so these now are some kind of collectibles which can be collected by all other enemies, players, and other objects. So relative means if I'm checking to this guy exactly to his coordinates, and if I uncheck that, then I'm using the coordinates for the whole scene. So if I'm using the coordinates for the whole scene, 0, 0 would be the top left on my level of my screen, and that is this corner here. And if I'm using the relative, that means relative to this instance 0, 0 is in the middle of it. Relative to this instance, it's in the middle of it, and so on. So again, depending on what you need. For most of the games you will need to check this on. Not means we're making negative on this sentence, on this decision. So if any object at place and we click not, it will turn into if any object not at place. So we're checking if there are no objects at this place. I don't want to do that. I want to check if any object is touching my object collectible all, and I want to destroy instance, for example, and I want to put it into it, not on the below on the left of it, but into it to the right of it. So destroy instance if any object in that place. And now check what will happen. So if any object touches this one, meaning player, golden coin, this guy here, zombie, whoever, this guy will get destroyed. So when the game starts, in our case, our triangles are falling like this, so this will touch this one and it will destroy it, and this one, and more or less all of those red triangles will destroy all of these collectibles which we have made. It doesn't make much sense for our game, but again, it's just a test to show you how this works. Okay, so take a look on those objects which we have just created. So GameMaker is checking if any of these objects on the screen is touching our collectibles. So if I uncheck those spikes here, for example, I want to test, is it working with my zombies and my player? So there is still one triangle here. I have no idea which one is it. Okay, yeah, so now I will try to touch those collectibles with the player to see if that will work. This one is destroying those. Okay, yeah, it works. So and maybe we can just test it with the zombie. So let's check the zombie spawner again. Okay, and also, yeah, very interesting here is that this guy here, he doesn't even show on the screen because he's touching the golden coin here already. They're overlapping, so the moment the game starts, he disappears. So he's never on the screen actually. Okay, so now I will try to lure the zombie to touch those collectibles instead of me touching them. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, zombie can collect them, but it's kind of tricky to, yeah. So the whole idea here was that you can use this block to check if any object is checking some other object. So you don't have to use destroy instance. Instead, you could put some kind of other block of code here, or some kind of very complex code. I think the problem here will be if I, instead of destroy instance, if I want to destroy the other guy, like for example, I want to destroy the zombie or those spikes when this brown object touches those, but I think that will not work like that out of the box and fast, so we will have to add some other code. I will do that maybe next video. I don't want to make these videos very long, but yeah, it still destroys the object instead of destroying the triangle. So we would have to maybe add some kind of variable here to put the instance which we are colliding with, or something like that. It may be list. Again, maybe too complex for these videos now, and also for our game in progress so far, but sometimes you will need that, so you'll have to check it out sooner or later. But so far so good. This again, a very simple example. It was just to show you how you can add very simple some kind of object on the screen with lots of instances, and how other objects can react to those collisions with that specific object, with those instances of those specific objects. That's it for this video. See you in next one. Again, those few videos on collision blocks are something which you will go back and forth the more you are in game development. So sometimes you will use events, sometimes you will use those collision blocks, sometimes combination of those, and so on. So don't try to avoid them, don't try to run away from those, try to experiment with those as much as possible, so you should learn them as fast as possible. See you in the next video, and thanks for watching.